Hey guys, it's Dan in Post. Before we get started with this very Christmassy episode of the Remedial Film Class podcast, I just wanted to remind you that coming out on December 22nd on YouTube and December 24th on Podcatchers is my guest appearance on The Hysteria Continues, where I discussed the 1989 classic slasher creature incest elf movie, Elves. There's only one elf. I don't know why it's called that. Anyway, with that said, on to our show on Batman Returns. Welcome back to the Remedial Film Class podcast. I'm your host, Dan.
And I'm Travis.
And I'm George.
George, tonight we celebrate a return and a Christmas movie at the same time. Guys, Batman Returns. How's everybody feeling?
Gravy.
I'm feeling fine. I don't think that this is a Christmas movie at all.
Oh, you don't?
What?
No.
What?
It has a
But
tree in it.
We just
It
heard
has
the
a tree. That's the only thing about and there was a Santa Claus in it. Like
There
at
was a
one
Santa
point the
Claus.
cat like walked past the Santa Claus.
Guys,
That was
we
it.
just heard the Christmas music intro. This had to be a Christmas movie, right?
It's what's good about it, what the opening reminded me of is Scrooged. Because it's Danny Elfman, so it's the same score,
Mm-hmm.
same composer. You kind of get a little bit of the Jingle Bell in there with the Batman theme.
Okay.
A little bit of Scrooged.
I mean, the last line of the movie
Okay.
is Merry Christmas.
Goodwill towards men.
And
Mhm.
women and cats.
It's a Christmas movie.
It's
It's
not a Christmas
it's
movie
More of
at
a
all.
Christmas movie than Die Hard.
Yeah. Come out to the coast. We'll get together. Have a few laughs.
Could have happened any time of year. This had to happen at Christmas because there was a Christmas tree.
Well, they had to have the lighting.
They had to light which they had to light twice.
Yes.
Which
So we watched Batman Returns.
I'm
The,
really curious as to your reaction because you're the only person here that watched these backwards. You've seen the Batman. So you've seen the Penguin and the Catwoman already.
yeah. I've seen Catwoman twice.
Yeah. So now
Already.
Anne Hathaway. So now we're seeing what I grew up on and what Dan knows first. Or did you see Returns before you saw Nolan's Batman?
Yeah, I was a big enough Bat fan as a little kid that we saw this in the
Okay.
drive-in.
Oh, nice.
And then when my parents bought it on VHS for me for the following birthday, I remember my mom going, wow, this was a lot less creepy in the drive-in where you couldn't see everything going on. And
For
I just
me-
watched it in 4K, so I am,
Nice.
wow.
Yeah, this movie is definitely a 4K experience.
I told my wife, I don't think the kids are watching this one. And she's like, what? We watched them when we were kids. I'm like, not like this. We
show
didn't.
them your flipper action.
Yeah, the French flipper trick. Ooh.
Wow. A lot of innuendo in this movie. So I started working in the movie theater in 92.
Mm-hmm.
May of 92. This was my first summer blockbuster movie in that theater. So it's very special to me
Okay.
because the propaganda around it, the hoopla, all the McDonald's commercials, all
That's a
the
good
Happy
word.
Meals.
Hoopla. That's a good
Hoopla.
word.
Like there was a lot of hoopla around this.
Yeah.
The posters, like it was ridiculous. I thought the first movie had a lot of hype, but this one was off the charts. Hype.
Yeah.
Did it pay off? It did for me.
Okay.
But you have a different what do you call it? Angle because you've seen it done seriously.
Okay, so I like the movie. That's
For what it is.
My overall, I like it.
Right.
There's lots of stuff, lots and lots and lots of stuff that I like about it. It was like beautifully shot. It was
yeah.
It's
Framed
dark.
amazing.
It's our second dark Christmas movie in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Not just like visually, but also content
Story-wise,
wise,
yeah.
dark. I'm really glad that you guys showed me way back in the day, like the 1960 something,
Mm-hmm.
with like the shark repellent.
Yes.
Like I'm really glad
Context.
because in watching it backwards, like you said, Travis, going from, the Nolan and then going to the Batman and then 89 and then this, there was a lot of stuff in the movie that was kind of like one-liner, corny, campy stuff. And I think if I didn't know the history of how corny Batman 1960 something was,
you would have pulled a muscle roll in your eyes.
exactly. Whereas, no, now when I watch it, I go, "Oh, that's so corny. I love it." You know what I mean? So you got to know a little bit about, the franchise and the history to,
and the
to
time
get
frame. Like the 90s, the 90s superhero movies are different than they became, the ones that took it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
This was like the last. Dan can correct me. This is like the last good superhero movie from the 90s.
Yeah, this is the end
we got
of
Spawn
until X-Men and Spider-Man.
and then X-Men, and then Spider-Man.
You have a big
Oh, yeah, I
gap
remember
where
Spider-Man
movies
was
like
good,
The Phantom and Batman Forever and
But see, I love the Phantom.
yeah,
that
but
was-
it's not on this tier.
Right. It reminded me of the Rocketeer.
Oh, I love The Rocketeer though.
Yeah, but it had
But that
like
was
a
91,
campy,
wasn't it? That was the
campiness.
year before.
Yeah. But just that it treaded that fine line of nostalgia
Mm-hmm.
of playing up the campiness of 66,
Yeah.
but the charm of 89,
Mm-hmm.
the visuals of 89.
Yeah.
And then they dabbled in the darkest fucking humor I've ever seen.
I know. That's
because
why.
it's Burton.
Yeah.
And
Did he direct 89 as well?
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Okay.
What I would do if
Yeah.
I were framing these two movies for a new viewer, I would tell you that Batman 89 is a Batman movie directed by Tim Burton, and I would say that Batman Returns is a Tim Burton movie that happens to involve Batman.
Yeah,
That's good.
Yes, that's a great way to explain it, because that's exactly how it felt to me.
Good.
I spent the entire movie this time. I haven't seen it probably since college, so a good 15 years. I spent the whole movie going, how am I going to make a Happy Meal out of this movie? Like
They did.
marketing wise, it's like, oh, good. That line from the end of the movie where he says something about the children's erogenous zones blown sky high. I was just like, get me out of this theater.
Yeah.
This can't be a Happy Meal. I'm sorry.
It was.
But it was.
This was the
Ugh.
first time watching it with kids. Like, I didn't watch it with them. They were in the room a couple times, but there were a few times where I actually said, all right, guys, you got to leave the room. Like, every time the Penguin came on screen, now I know how the parents felt back then.
Dude,
Yeah.
my 6-year-old daughter saw the Penguin on the screen
Okay.
and like was immediately drawn to like, what is this?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can't watch this. And she's like, why is he doing, like, what is it? What is going? And I'm like, it's Danny DeVito.
Right.
Like, his nose doesn't actually look like that. Like, his teeth don't actually look like that. Like, hold on. And like, I went to YouTube and I found like the most like
Matilda.
yeah,
Matilda,
no,
Danny
not
DeVito.
even Matilda. It was just like a silly video that he was
Right.
in. And I was like, look, he looks like a grandpa. Like,
Mhm.
this is Danny DeVito. And then they do the makeup and the whatever, and then I like went back to like the TV and like the nose, and his nose doesn't really look like that.
Right.
See, it's the
He
same
doesn't
guy,
really bite people's
same guy.
faces off.
See, and I was like, this is all pretend, blah blah blah. And but yeah, like, she's 6, and she was
Yeah.
like, what the is that?
I let my kids watch it.
Which is kind of my reaction too.
Right. Yeah, because you didn't know.
I'm like, what the?
We're watching that scene where he meets his campaign crew, and Jan Hooks is in there. Who's
Oh, I love Jan Hooks. We'll
she's
see her
awesome.
again soon, I think.
yeah, we'll see her again. And she's doing her thing, and then I realized, oh shit, this is the part. So I was like, all right, guys, you can't watch this part because and they're like, what's gonna happen? I'm like, well, he's gonna bite that guy's nose off. So, But they watched it.
No.
But I have older boys. Like, I don't have just the one girl. So I had to kind of like, I want them to see it, but I had to kind of make her turn away. But she, like you said, it was like a train wreck. Like, she wanted to see it because it's so over the top and is, I guess, is bombastic. Would that be the right word? Or like just like so just so
bat
flamboyant,
shit? Which is appropriate for the franchise.
Yeah.
But
and I'm just like, wow. Like I've never watched this movie with children, so it was it was a different experience for me, and I completely understand why people were uncomfortable back then.
Yeah. So I was listening. When I watch these movies, I wear headphones because I don't want to like, distract or get in anybody's way here, at the house. So my daughter can't hear what's going on.
Right. She just sees it.
But it's the scene where Penguin and Shrek,
yeah,
or like he kidnaps Shrek, right?
Oh, downstairs. In
the sewer
house,
and the big bird cage
like,
thing.
And my daughter does not know what's going on because
right.
she can't hear it. She's like, "What is he?" I'm like, "He's trying to scare him.
Right.
Like he's trying to scare him.
It's
like
Halloween. It's Halloween every day for the Penguin.
It's like he's got a fake hand.
Hiya, Max. Remember me?
Hi, Max. Remember me?
I'm Fred's hand. How does the hand talk? That's what I want to know because it doesn't have a mouth.
And then at the
Very
end
talented.
when he like goes to shake his hand, and it's the that's so good.
Oh,
well, I mean, friggin', I don't know. Everybody in this movie's so good that I can't.
The performances are fantastic.
It's like getting the best Saturday Night Live skit ever.
Yeah,
with the
pretty
greatest
much.
actors you can find. Like Michelle Pfeiffer, like her banter with oh my god, his freaking name is, I missed it. Shrek. That was his real
Christopher
name.
Walken.
Like her banter with him, and he's like,
dude, Christopher, dude, right before he, spoiler alert, before he pushed her out the window, was the best.
Yeah,
back and forth,
and her reaction, like that laugh, like she laughed, like, "Oh yeah, right, I'm in on the joke."
I mean, even before that, when he's, when he's talking to her about like how effective a secretary she is, and like,
too good,
too good, like the whole dialogue back and forth, talk about like a masterclass in dialogue being interesting. That scene,
yes,
that
nothing's happening.
That is so good.
So tense.
Yeah. And it's
so good, and there's nothing going on, which is exactly what we said. Like, if the actors are good, they could be reading the phone book, and you're waiting for the next name.
Like,
you're just like, I want to know who the next name is.
If the dialogue wasn't good in that scene, it's basically a scene from Law and Order. Like, she's shuffling through papers and talking about something that nobody cares about.
Yeah, they both create that tension very, very well.
That dialogue was beautifully done.
I think any time that Walken was on screen, the potential was there for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because every scene, because he's kind of I don't want to say he's not a villain, but he is the villain.
He is.
But he is the orchestrator. He's the puppeteer that is being played.
He's the Falcone. He's not the Joker.
Yeah, he's the Falcone. But I was trying to explain to the kids, like, I gave him like a quick rundown. I'm like, all right, he's playing him, but he knows he's playing, like, the Penguin knows that Shrek is playing the Penguin. The Penguin, the Shrek doesn't know that the Penguin knows that Shrek's trying to play him. So they're like, it's like this whole dynamic that the way they play it, it's so much more interesting than it sounds.
Yeah.
But it's like one wants to be in power. One wants to use Shrek wants to use the Penguin to be in power, so he wants him to be the figurehead. But the Penguin's already decided he's going to use Shrek to get into power. So it's like they're playing off of each other, and they're so good at it that everybody looks like they're in power and in charge, but nobody's really in charge because it's freaking chaos.
It is a free-for-all.
And don't forget that the Penguin doesn't really have political power ambitions as much as he does murdering all the children and maybe eating some of them sometimes. Guys, this movie is dark. What the hell? Did you catch the whole like 10 Commandments connection, George? Baby
No.
Moses in the basket down the river at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then the murdering of the firstborn sons
Absolutely.
at the end,
that's
the angel of death and all that. Yeah.
The triumvirate.
Yeah, the triumvirate, yeah.
No, it's a whole 10 Commandments
No, it's
thing.
totally there.
A little bit of
totally
Pied Piper, although they say that on the nose. He calls himself the Pied Penguin at one point. But so at the beginning of the movie, did you recognize the actor that played the father of Penguin, or maybe the mother?
No.
Are you familiar with Paul Rubens? Are you familiar with his work?
No. Am I?
Travis has a pretty good impression of Paul Rubens.
On the spot.
On the spot.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
That's him? Okay.
That's him.
And this was post
From that.
Scandal, wasn't it?
Yes.
So that was kind of a big deal at the time. Like, Tim's putting him in movies. Like,
Now, there's something I found out recently that Paul Rubens was not the first choice to play the father.
bum bum bum.
It was going to be Burgess Meredith.
What? That would have been awesome.
How awesome would that have been? Who plays the Penguin
How awesome
in
that
the
would have been.
66 TV show?
Ah.
That would have been sweet.
But he would have been so old to be the father. He'd have to be the grandfather at that point.
Well, they probably would have, put some shoe polish in his hair or something. But because it was kind of they didn't do many close-ups with the father and mother. But he would have had that distinct look. What year was that? 92? He did a couple Rocky movies after that. He didn't look that old.
So that would have been interesting. But no less interesting to put a guy who's already in the headlines for Scandal, almost I don't know if he's uncredited or just not mentioned in the advertising, but for a little bit cameo at the beginning.
It was definitely a nod.
Yeah. If you notice at the beginning, George, everything is essentially black and white up through the credits and all the flashback portion. Did you take note of that as you're watching it, or are you just thinking, hey, it's Tim Burton, it's got to be this black and white color scheme?
I didn't notice the black and white. I did see Tim Burton's name, and along with all of the other names, and I was very pleased every time a name came up on the screen.
A lot of good names in this one.
I was very, very pleased. And so when the movie started, I was just like, okay, yeah, this looks like a Burton movie.
So,
which I like. I'm
not
into
only is it in black and white, but it's essentially a silent film for the beginning. There's no dialogue. It's just music, score, and a little bit of penguin baby noises, but not
There's screaming.
There's no dialogue at the beginning.
There's some screaming.
The character in this movie, Max Schreck. Have you ever heard that name before? We've probably said it on the podcast before, but I don't know if you registered it.
No.
Max Schreck is a great reference.
He was the actor that played the vampire in Nosferatu in the 1920s in Germany.
Okay.
One of the first vampire movies. Definitely
an intentional choice. I have some friends that would be like, well, that might just be a coincidence. I'm like, no, that's a choice.
That's exactly what they wanted.
Think about who your director is.
He's not green, so.
But it's an interesting, for a movie that generally trends towards black and white with some splashes of color here and there, to begin as a silent film and name your main antagonist, crime boss guy, after a vampire, probably the most famous visual vampire in movie history.
You've seen him before. He's the bald, the pointy ears, kind of big broad shoulders, pointy nose, kind of looks like the Penguin. Really long fingernails,
big old teeth.
Silent, big teeth, two front teeth in the front. Or two front teeth in the front.
Because I'm trying to think.
Two front teeth in
Get the fuck out of here.
Get the fuck out of here. The two teeth in the front are they're like coming out of the mouth. Like they're not like fangs like you would think of. They're like dead center.
And this movie is in public domain, so you see it referenced a lot more in stuff like even Are You Afraid of the Dark had an episode with a ripoff of the Nosferatu
Salem's
vampire
Lot.
because it's not under the Universal Monsters thing, right? They can more freely use it than you can the actual Dracula character.
They actually stole it for Salem's Lot. Like,
Yeah.
it's the same exact look.
Which
I sent it to your messenger there if you want to take a look at it.
I will. Which Dracula was Bela Lugosi?
The best.
Yeah, he's Universal's Dracula.
Quintessential. Yes.
But they
Okay.
actually like paid the licensing fee to call it Dracula. In Nosferatu, they have a different name for the vampire because they stole the story but didn't credit it.
Count Orlok.
So,
Wow, I'm looking at this this Nosferatu.
Yeah.
It's so stunning.
And I have definitely 100% seen this
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
It was
Oh,
in
yeah.
the Queen No
And
Pressure video. Under
it's-
Pressure.
Really disturbing.
Yeah.
It's like the scariest look of all the vampires.
And the actor Max Schreck looks like that Dracula without makeup. He just has a little bit of hair, but he
It's
looks
kind of
exactly
like
like that.
it's kind of like Igor from
Yes,
he looks that way like in real life. Igor from
Yes.
Young Frankenstein.
they actually made him look more human as Nosferatu.
Yeah.
Now, we'll probably talk about German Expressionism again on this show, hopefully soon. But this was one of those basically Weimar Republic, early German movies that it transcends time. Like, it's still scary today,
Mhm.
even though it's literally 100 years old this year.
Yeah.
But they always talk about how the designs in the 89 Batman kind of tend toward the impressionistic, but they also reference Fritz Lang quite a bit. Have you ever heard of a movie called
Yes.
Metropolis?
No, but Metropolis is the town, is the city in Superman.
But
Yes.
the black and white silent Metropolis is
It was a
very, like,
1927
Art Deco.
film, silent. I believe it's silent. I haven't watched it in a long time. But yeah, it should be still silent in 27. Fritz Lang, I'll send you a picture of the sets as they're building them so you can see for scale. But the very tall buildings, very like a lot of right angles, a lot of hard edges. You also
This is
see
why you
like
get these giant statues.
yeah, behind the mayor's Christmas tree, it looks like some Ayn Rand, like Atlas Shrugged statues straight out of a Fritz Lang set behind the Christmas tree. So you can just see, I mean, if I told you that
Yeah.
last picture I sent you was this Gotham City set, you wouldn't not believe me.
Mm-hmm.
I would believe you.
So
That's what it looks like.
Fritz Lang all over this movie and the last movie. We'll be talking about him, I hope soon. But
Yes.
kind of a continuation of what they were doing with the first movie, just a little bit more sharp, a little bit more intense, a little bit more sterile, kind of with the preponderance of black and white imagery throughout this.
Well, I think that because this movie plays more with the duality theme
Oh yeah,
than
100%.
the first one. So it's like I think they were definitely going for that yin yang, black and white. Definitely. Like everybody in this movie has a fractured psyche.
Except for Commissioner Gordon, who just has no idea how to conduct an investigation. If I were Batman's lawyer, when he's holding up that battery, I'd be like, "This is circumstantial evidence." Oh, I'm getting that thrown out. Thank you.
But see, that's the tongue-in-cheek, on-the-nose shit that's like perfect in this movie. Like I kept laughing at the cops shooting at everybody.
Oh my god, every
I'm
time.
like, it's like, oh, there's Batman, shoot him. Oh, there's Penguin, shoot him. There's Shrek, shoot him. They don't
care who it is.
They didn't give a shit.
It's the end of the
bad,
year.
indifferent.
The court
Shoot 'em.
budget is real slim. It'd be a lot better if we could just. Anyway, yeah.
Need
So
a couple cases.
if you want to talk about this movie as it exists within like the Batman timeline, it's at a really interesting midpoint between the 60s stuff and the Nolan stuff. And there's a lot of things that come up in this movie that now that we've seen well, I guess it's not new anymore. Now that we've seen the Nolan Trilogy, you can see where the Nolan Trilogy was doing that Halloween 2018 thing and reaching back to this and scooping out the little nuggets and leaving all the chaff
Mhm.
behind. I mean, like Bane's whole sewer dwelling thing is a, prototyped here. The bat pod, the whole transformation from the tank down to the motorcycle, is essentially in this movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You've got the line from Catwoman where she says, "Oh, Batman would be too powerful as a martyr if we just strapped an H-bomb to the Batmobile." And it's like, oh shit! Spoiler alert for the end of Dark Knight Rises.
Turn him into what he hates most.
Yeah.
Which is
actually, to be quite honest with you, the more older Batman movies that I'm exposed to, the more I like Nolan.
Yep.
Yeah, no,
because
Nolan was a gift.
Yeah, obviously I compare everything to Nolan, but all the old stuff that I see in the old stuff, it just, I mean, the Batmobile, like you said, like transforming down to like basically a real thin like motorcycle kind of thing. Yeah, totally. Like, yeah, Nolan did it, but like way different and maybe better. I don't know.
But does Nolan do it?
I appreciate
if they don't do it here? I don't know. I mean,
I don't know.
He does such a good job of, David Gordon greening the old Batman movies into something a lot more practical. But it's not like he created all that stuff out of thin air. And a lot of it, you'd think, it probably comes from the comics. But it also just kind of comes from these movies.
One of my favorite parts of Begins is the bats when he has the sonar. And that's in this movie as well.
It is.
Yep.
But it's not as well thought out.
Is it in Begins or is it in
it's
The Dark Knight?
When Gordon's like, what's that noise? And he's like, back up.
Yeah. Which is pretty much straight out of Year One, the graphic novel.
Right.
Which at the time that Batman Returns comes out is like the recent hot book.
Yes.
But definitely not integrated into the story as well as it could have been, and so they had to do it again later. That whole discussion at the end of Begins, the end of Begins. The "This is your mask" conversation is essentially what the discussion that they have on the dance floor between both Catwoman and Batman. Both of them just like, oh, I want to get out of this mask, and it's like, well, you're not. Well, yes, you are wearing it because you're Bruce Wayne.
And Catwoman has that conversation with him in the Nolan movie as well.
Yeah,
she says,
absolutely.
Living basically way beyond your your necessity.
Oh yeah,
and we're all down here with scraps.
Yeah.
That was definitely a parallel. The Dark Knight Rises scene is definitely intended to be a parallel to the dance scene in this one, just with a different attitude for a new generation or whatever.
Honestly, my son collects pops, right? So we're in GameStop, and there's this really cool pop of Devito's penguin in the yellow duck, right?
Nice.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And I flipped out when I saw it. I was like, I have to have that, which I own now. I'm like, I have to have that. And he's like, why? And I said, because it's awesome and it's iconic. I said, you'll get it. And he's
you'll
like,
get it a bit, yeah.
He goes, is that even in the movie? I'm like, dude, it is so in the movie. I'm like, and it's such an iconic scene. Like they walk off the dance floor and the floor blows up and then he's like, you didn't invite me, so I crashed. And it's like, that's like from the trailer.
Yeah.
And we knew from the trailer that this movie was going to be off the chain because that was in the trailer. And everything that was in the movie that you, like you said, would have pulled a muscle rolling your eye at.
Like, dude, the penguins with like the
rockets,
the penguins with the rockets and like the brain control helmets.
Well, and his
it's so bad, but like,
well, he gives them a legitimate.
If I didn't know about shark repellent, it would be really, really bad.
It works though.
Well, he gives them the patent speech.
You've invested.
He gets them ready for war. All you needed was a big American flag behind him and the little cadence. But that's a patent scene, and it's just like he's talking to penguins. Like, what the hell?
When he comes walking out, like I remember watching this movie, and I watched it with other movie buffs, and I had never seen Patton. And there was this guy who used to work with us. He was like 10 years older than me. He was a projectionist, and he always got all the references way before we did. And he just his cackle laugh from the front row. It was an employee screening, and dying laughing, and I'm like, why is he? I asked him later, I'm like, why are you laughing? He's like, it's freaking Patton. Like it was so brilliant to him that he's given this full Patton speech to a bunch of penguins.
Well, that went over my head too, but
so
like,
brilliant.
Did you catch
one of the other? Oh, go ahead.
Did you catch the Bane, the prototype of the Bane speech? You just adopted the dark. I was born in it. When Penguin says, "You're jealous because I'm a genuine freak and you have to wear a mask. You
That's
adopted
true.
the dark line." I mean, it's like
That is.
it's
a
all
prototype.
it was here,
It's true.
and they just made it better.
It was funny. I was at class the other night, and we were talking about how damn cold it is at work, all working outside, and some of us are like more sensitive to it, and then all the other, some of us are like, you're
born in
what
it.
are all blah. It's like you've become accustomed to the cold. I was born in it. It's just like a thing that we do now.
Now, if you ever go back, George, because I say it's the midpoint, not only are there some, obviously like, slapstick and kind of campy lines, kind of like the 60s Batman in this, there's literal references to the 60s movie, some of which get recycled later. There's the scene where they jam the penguins with the radio frequency jammers, and then suddenly they turn around and leave. Very similar to the scene where they're magnetized to a buoy in the Batman 66 movie, and they have to use a jammer to deflect torpedoes. The structure of the thing is very similar. My favorite line, everyone's favorite line from the 60s Batman movie, some days you just can't get rid of a bomb, right? As Batman is now walking around with a time bomb in his hand.
Yeah.
Just looking for a dude to stick it to, I guess. Like, I have some real problems with the morality of this Batman.
Yeah.
He's
He
straight
does,
up
yeah.
target killing these people. Like
he sets people on fire.
he is a
blows
murderer.
people
But
up.
he looks so damn good. Like that new suit, that it's just so cut.
He does what he has to do,
But it's not a very good Batman movie.
Not
He's
a
hardly
bit.
in it.
Yeah.
Not a good
So,
Batman movie.
Going back to the things that Nolan did better. Well, not better, but like the things that Nolan stole.
Perfected. He didn't
Yeah.
steal it.
So the scene where they're talking about the damage to the Batmobile, and they're like, "Oh, we have to." Alfred's like, "We have to, be worried about security. It's not like we can take this to like the local mechanic or whatever."
Right?
And I'm like, just bring it to Lucius Fox.
Yeah.
But he doesn't exist yet.
Doesn't exist.
Like that, like the Lucius character
great.
in the Nolan Batman movies is such an integral part.
I'm not sure when he was introduced in the comics or if he was introduced on the cartoon first.
And like the whole backstory of
Yeah.
how Batman has all this technology, all this tech. Like,
it's all yours. You own it.
yes,
Yeah.
it's so good. The way Nolan presents it is so good.
What would have been awesome is Morgan Freeman in this movie with his March of the Penguins narration.
I'm sure there's a YouTube video of that somewhere.
I'm sure.
Isn't there?
And here come the penguins.
Gotta be.
Oh, it's so good.
Hey, do you guys know about the Benedict Cumberbatch penguin fiasco?
Yeah,
Apparently-
you can't say the word penguin.
Yeah, apparently he was narrating like some nature show, and he said he kept like reading the word penguin
It's
as
like cool whip.
penguin,
Penguin.
penguin, and like he says it like 3 different ways. It's
Oh,
hilarious.
It's good. It's so good.
He just can't get it right.
All right. Do we just go to back to the beginning and just try to hit every part? Like I'm trying to,
Sure.
I don't know what I'm missing. All I know is we haven't talked about Michelle Pfeiffer yet, and we have to at some point.
You know what was a great scene? How when they're like almost about to maybe get it on, and they both have to like
Hold on.
hide
They both have to
their.
on.
leave, yeah.
You have to specify which characters, because in this movie, a lot of the male characters are trying to get it on with Michelle Pfeiffer.
No, when
Do you blame them?
Bruce Wayne and
The
Selena Kyle.
fireplace scene.
Yeah, the fireplace.
Selena, the fireplace scene.
Yeah.
Selena and Bruce Wayne are kind of getting it on, and like she touches his side where she just stabbed him
Right.
like hours ago, and he's like, "Oh no!" and then he like goes up her sleeve and like
Napalm.
her burn is showing, and she's like, "Oh, you can't see that." Like, it's
very
so
Three's Company.
It's so funny.
And then them trying to make up stories why they're leaving.
Yes,
Like, that's
and
good too.
Alfred is like, just, I'll take care of it.
And again,
like, I got it.
Again, I always pick on actors and acting.
Mm-hmm.
That scene, those words, are boring. The
Which
actors,
words?
just them trying to figure out why they're leaving.
Yeah.
You watch her. It almost seems improv. Like, you watch her try to come up with a story, and she cuts herself off a couple times, and
So does he.
And he does it as they're really good at it. And that scene could go a nosedive with bad actors.
That's true.
So that's
And it says, I think it says a lot about Alfred too, because it's just, I don't know, some awkward social situation is like, Alfred's like, I got this. Like, say no more.
And not to foreshadow, but then you'll get to see, if you ever watch Forever, and what's the last one? Batman and Robin, which you probably should never watch.
Okay.
It's the same Alfred. So you get to see him bouncing it off with not so good actors.
Oof.
And he tries. But then it makes you cherish these two movies a lot more.
That sucks, because he's a good Alfred.
Yeah.
I like him.
Yeah, he's good. I mean, I still think you should see Forever. I think you should. I watched it right after I watched.
I have one more watch of that movie in my life. I'm down to my last Bat Life for Batman Forever. I can watch it one more time. So at some point next year, when we have no other movies we want to watch, I'll watch Batman Forever one more time.
I bring it up because George was talking about how he took the journey and he saw the camp, and then he saw Burton's Batman, and then he thinks about Nolan, and he's like, yes, that's where we should be.
And also the Batman.
And then the Batman does a really good job as well.
Yep.
If you watch it in chronological and you see the horizon fall, the ebb and flow of that character, when you watch Forever after watching this, and you're like, all right, it's a letdown.
Is Forever the one where
It's Jim Carrey, isn't it?
Yeah, but who plays Batman?
Val Kilmer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you get a not so good Batman movie, but it still has its moments.
It's a shame, because I love
it's a great cast.
I love Val Kilmer, but like,
he's good.
Is he?
He's a good Batman.
Well, I know Dan,
but he's not really a
disagrees.
Batman in this. Like, he's more Bruce Wayne than Batman in this movie.
Well, I think he would make a good Bruce Wayne too.
I
love Val Kilmer, and it kind of
Okay.
kills me. I've never seen the movie, but it kills me that like his Batman movie was so bad, because I like
wasn't
him
so
so
bad.
much.
It
But
just wasn't. It wasn't Burton's Batman.
Save that for the pod, is what I would say.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. But then you get Batman and Robin. So then there's like, people are like, fuck, like Batman's dead. There's no way they're ever going to make a good Batman again. Like, the 90s happened and it killed Batman. And then Mark Singer, is it Mark Singer? Not Mark Singer, that's the Beastmaster.
the Beastmaster.
The hell's his name? The X-Men.
Oh,
Bryan Singer.
Bryan Singer, yeah.
Makes X-Men, and he makes a serious superhero movie. And you're like, okay, it's possible. We might get a good Batman again someday. And then Spider-Man happens, we're like, okay, it's definitely going to happen. And then when Begins came out, it was like a breath of fresh air. Like, so many fans were like, okay, this is going to be good. This is like what we wanted. So you get that
I think Begins might be the best Batman movie in existence.
Yeah.
It's pretty damn good.
I think you
Like,
might be onto something there.
If I could lump Begins and Dark Knight together into one
You can.
4.5 hour movie,
You can.
that is the best
They
Batman
have,
movie.
and you could watch it.
Yeah.
It's called the Batman Animated Series.
Oh,
And
cool.
you can watch it whenever you want.
Yeah.
It's on HBO Max
Yeah.
For now, we'll see.
for now.
But like the backstory in Begins is so good with with Ra's al Ghul and all that, and how he rejects his his wealth and all that, and Alfred basically thinks he's dead, pretty much. And
It's
then
good shit, but you don't get that
the training,
without
the training, and the becoming fear. Like I thought that becoming fear thing was a theme from earlier movies, and I haven't seen that yet.
It's touched on in Forever.
Okay.
Because
that's for me, for Batman, that is huge.
Yeah.
Become fear. Like, become what criminals fear. That is huge.
I mean, Keaton in the first movie says they're good survivors. So it's like you're not really getting why he's a bat. Dresses as a bat.
Right.
That didn't give it to me. And then Returns, I don't think it's brought up at all because Batman's not in this movie. Maybe twice.
I feel like they shot one fight scene and split it across 2 different scenes of the movie. When they realized, like, oops, we only shot one Batman fight. We better split this scene in half. Just pepper it in throughout the movie.
Oh, speaking of that, we get... there's a few great friends of the show in this movie that you might not have recognized.
Okay.
Shrek's son, Max Shrek's son. What was his name?
Chip,
the big guy.
Yeah.
He plays Leatherface in the remake that we watched.
Okay.
The Jessica Biel.
Yeah.
Chainsaw. Mr. Farkas from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. The Have a Heart teacher.
Yep.
Is the monkey grinder.
Yeah, he was also in Cuckoo's Nest.
He was in Cuckoo's Nest.
And he had a chain gun in his organ.
Mr. Farkas.
He had a gun in his organ. Mr. Farkas.
This movie is so horny.
He was the one that was like...
Remember he pulls the heart out of the body? And
he's like the really odd guy, right? Okay.
Yeah. The guy who makes Ben Stein look like Brad Pitt.
Yeah. Because I remember his wife was really hot in Fast Times, which was hilarious. Yeah.
That might be it. Friend of the show. But I did find out.
But wait. There's more.
There's more.
And there is more, but there is so much more that we're going to have to call it a day here and split this guy into 2 episodes. So for those of you listening the day we launch, which was the 21st, we will have this up for you tomorrow, the 22nd, so that you can listen to it before your big holiday weekend. Thank you for joining us on this Remedial Film Class podcast. As always, you can find us at facebook.com/remedialfilmpod. Don't forget, I will be appearing on the Hysteria Continues. That's the Hysteria Continues podcast, with an episode launching on YouTube December 22nd and on podcatchers December 24th as we discuss Elves. Guys, I'm so excited. This is the movie that made me. And honestly, after you've seen it, it'll explain a lot. And I hear it's on YouTube. I bought the DVD from Germany. You don't have to do that. You could probably watch it on YouTube. And if you're watching it and you think, this movie looks like ass, don't worry. So does the DVD. Vinegar Syndrome, we need you to save this movie. It is too culturally important. You know what, forget it. Anyway, check out that movie on YouTube, Elves, and come back tomorrow for the second half of Batman Returns.